Hey everybody, this one is about do-it-yourself, no birth certificate. Every child, this is under the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, Article 24, Clause 2, says every child shall be registered immediately after birth and shall have a name. Okay, so the question is whether you have any children or not. I don't know about you, but I don't. I do have a son and a daughter. The Article 24, Clause 2, actually this is Clause 1, every child shall have, without discrimination as to race, color, sex, language, religion, or national or social origin, property, or birth, the right to such measures of protection as are required by his status as a minor on the part of his family, society, and the state. Okay, so this is all talking about persons. Birth equals status equals Roman law. Every state party, this is Article 2, Clause 1 in the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Every state party to the present covenant undertakes to respect to ensure to all individuals within its territory and subject to its jurisdiction the rights recognized in the present covenant without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. So birth is a status. Okay? You have to understand that. This is all coming under Roman law. Article 26 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, quote, all persons are equal before the law and entitled without any discrimination to the equal protection of the law. In this respect, the law shall prohibit any discrimination and guarantee to all persons equal and effective protection against discrimination on any ground, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. So a birth is again status. It's under Roman law. Civil law, Roman civil law are convertible phrases meaning the same system of jurisprudence, that rule of action which every particular nation, commonwealth, or city has established peculiarly for itself, more properly called municipal law, to distinguish it from the law of nature and from international law. And that's Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. Classification of persons. This is taken from The Law of Persons by Joseph R. Long, published in 1912. And Section 1 in this book says classification of persons. The Roman law distinguished three kinds of personal status or degree of legal capacity and classified human beings with respect thereto as follows. So it's all Roman law. Persons fall under Roman law, and status falls under Roman law. And Section 3, loss of freedom, capitis diminutio maxima. A Roman citizen cannot legally be sold in slavery, but he might become a slave by condemnation for crime or by being captured by an enemy. Okay? Well, why do you think they're making these perpetual warfare, okay? There's not just warfare on foreign enemies. They've openly said that they'll murder any U.S. citizen no matter where they're at, and then they start calling anybody that thinks they have any rights terrorists. And so you see where that's going. This is... A person is a variety of entities other than human beings. Okay, so this is all municipal corporations. It's all fictitious entities. Foreigners and not citizens. That's U.S. versus Otherson. So a person is a variety of entities, other human beings, and foreigners and not citizens. This is where it's codified. 26 U.S.C. 7701. When used in this title or were not otherwise expressly and manifestly incompatible with the intent thereof. Okay, so that's the liars putting in all their little confusing words. Person, the term person shall be construed to mean and include an individual, trust, estate, partnership, association, company, or a corporation. Okay, well, those are all fictitious entities because of ejusdem generis. Okay, when they list a bunch of entities, in any statute, then they all have to be similar, okay? And so those are all fictitious entities, so therefore a individual is also a fictitious entity. It's a cestui trust. The word person and whoever include corporations, companies, associations, firms, partnerships, societies, and joint stock companies, as well as individuals. Cestui trust. Person means an individual, firm, partnership, association, or corporation. This Texas Transportation Code, Texas Government Code. Persons include corporations, organization, government or governmental subdivision or agency, business, trust, estate, trust, partnership, association, any other legal entity, okay? Include, or the participial form thereof is defined to comprise within, to hold, to contain. So when it says include, like in the Texas Government Code, that means that that is all that it is, okay? It's only what's listed. And when that says include in USC Title 1, Section 1, that's all that's there. Nothing else is there. And then 7701, that's all that's there. Nothing else is there. Anyways, include in American Dictionary on English Language by Noah Webster, 1828. Include, to confine within, to hold, to contain, as the shell includes a kernel. A pearl is included in a shell. To comprise, to comprehend, to contain. And then Black's Law Dictionary, same thing, okay? To confine within, hold as an enclosure, take in, attain, shut up, contain, enclose, comprise. So include is limiting. This is the D.C. Code, found at 31 Stat 1432. And in Chapter 56, in Section 1617, it says the legal estate to be the cestui use. And then in the Congressional Record, June 13th, 1967, page 15,641 through 646, says, a citizen of the United States is a civilly dead entity operating as co-trustee and co-beneficiary of the public charitable trust, the constructive cestui trust of U.S. Inc. under the 14th Amendment, which upholds the debt of the USA and U.S. Inc. And in rebolens, every taxpayer is a cestui trust having sufficient interest in preventing the abuse of the trust to be recognized in the field of the court's prerogative jurisdiction. Again, the D.C. Code, which is found at 31-1189. This is right at the very beginning. It says, and be it further enacted, the interpretation and construction of said code, the following rule shall be observed, namely, the word person shall be held to apply to partnerships and corporations. And so, and this is Tomlin's Law Dictionary, 1835 edition, volume 2, under the definition of mort main. This is explaining a lot about the cestui trust and where it comes from. And so we're going to read the whole thing and then talk about some of the underlying stuff. Yet still it was found difficult to set bounds to ecclesiastical ingenuity, for when they were driven out of all of their former holds, they devised a new method of conveyance by which the lands were granted, not to themselves directly, but to nominal feoffees to the use of the religious houses, thus distinguishing between the possession and the use, and receiving the actual profits, while the season of the land remained in the nominal feoffee, who was held by the courts of equity, then under the direction of the clergy, to be bound in conscience to account to his cestui use for the rents and emoluments of the estate. Well, gee, that sounds like property taxes. And it is to these inventions that our practitioners are indebted for the introduction of uses and trusts, the foundation of modern conveyancing. Okay, so it says, number one, it says that the cestui trust was set up by the Roman cult. Okay, the cestui trust was established and set up by the Roman cult. And it also says that the courts of equity were under the direction of the Roman cult. They still are to this day. It says that, and it talks about property taxes, okay, bound in conscience to account to his cestui use for the rents and emoluments of the state. Okay, well, gee, that sounds like property taxes, and it is to these inventions, and it's the foundation of modern conveyancing, okay? Even in the D.C. Code, it says you're presumed dead, and so that brings in the cestui trust, and then all land is owned by the cestui trust. Well, that means that the Roman cult owns the D.C., District of Columbia. That's why they got these fascists in Congress. Congress is bought and paid for, okay? They're owned and operated by the Roman cult. I have a whole video on that. So the birth certificate is a badge of slavery. That's where the cestui trust is created. It's collateral for the fictitious debt. All family information at common law, all family information is supposed to be recorded in the family Bible. Okay, births, marriages, deaths, etc. It's all recorded in the family Bible. The only reason anyone needs to know your date of birth is because of contracts. They need to know that you're the age of majority. They need to know that you're old enough to make a contract. That's all they need to know. All people, this is again the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. This is Article 1, Clause 1. And it says, all people have the right of self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. And then it says in Article 1, Clause 3, it says, the state parties to the present covenant being a contract, okay, as in a treaty, including those having responsibility for the administration of non-self-governing and trust territories, shall promote the realization of the right of self-determination and shall respect that right in conformity with the provisions of the Charter of the United Nations. So, again, they have to protect your right to self-determination, and that means this right to self-determination is to freely determine your political status. Okay, in other words, are you going to be a slave or are you going to be free? And so, taxpayers are not state citizens. So this is all talking about this whole international covenant on civil and political rights. Really talks. It's for U.S. citizens. For the slaves. And so you don't have to be a U.S. citizen. Okay, that's your political status. If you think about it, taxpayers are not state citizens. State citizens are the only ones living under free government whose rights are incapable of impairment by legislation or judicial decision. State citizenship is a vested substantial property right, and the state has no power to divest or impair these rights. The state citizen is immune from any and all government attacks and procedure absent contract. Every human being is independent of all laws except those prescribed by nature. He's not bound by institutions formed by his fellow men without his consent. So all statutes, remember, all statutes are Roman cult. I mean, we've talked about that in other videos. The rights of the individuals are restricted only to the extent that they've been voluntarily surrendered by the citizenship to the agencies of government. City of Dallas versus Mitchell. The people are sovereign and not bound by general words and statutes restrictive of prerogative right, title, or interest unless expressly named. Acts of limitation do not bind the king or the people. The people have been ceded all the rights of the king, the former sovereign. And that's a New York court case. At the Revolution, the sovereignty devolved on the people, and they are truly the sovereigns of the country. The citizens of America are equal as fellow citizens and as joint tenants in the sovereignty. Chisholm versus Georgia. People of a state are entitled to all the rights which formerly belonged to the king by his prerogative. Okay, so we're all kings and queens, literally. It will be admitted on all hands that the exception of the powers granted to the states and the federal government through the constitutions, the people of the several states are unconditionally sovereign within their respective states. A sovereign is exempt from suit not because of any formal conception or obsolete theory, but on the logical and practical ground that there can be no legal right as against the authority that makes the law on which the right depends. In other words, we the people make the law, so we're not subject to the law. And it comes down to, really, if you think about it, do I have the right to sell my neighbor's property? Absolutely not. And so then my neighbor doesn't have the right to sell my property either. And so then, if you think about it, then where does the IRS thieves come in? Well, you have to consent to it. Anyways, so are you a person? A sovereign is not a person as far as the statute's concerned, and that's Will versus Michigan State Police. And there's more court cases that talk about it. In common usage, the term person does not include the sovereign. Statutes employing the word are normally construed to exclude it. And that's Will versus Michigan State Police again. A sovereign is not a person in the legal sense. That's Henry Fox. These are Supreme Court cases. So what I did, okay, and now we're going to go into what I did and how it worked. I made an affidavit that stated that the date of birth is hearsay. I have no firsthand knowledge of a date of birth. I don't remember being given birth. I don't know, do you? And somebody told me, but that's hearsay. But I do remember finishing high school in 1975. So I'm well past the age of majority. I've been around for a while. Anyone who gives birth in a hospital will be subjected to forced birth registration. All birth registrations are for U.S. citizens with cestui trusts or slaves. Basically, they're registering you for collateral for the fictitious debt. Anyways, so this is the document that I recorded. If you notice, it was recorded by a Pinal County recorder, and there's the fee number. You're welcome to go look it up if you want. It's all public knowledge. Anyways, paragraph 5, I said Hunter Pierre, House of Fern, is not a citizen of the foreign United States, but he is an Arizona citizen, and in due time, when he comes of age, he will take his rightful place as a member of the American sovereignty. And then be it known by all that an attempt was made by criminals to register my son as a U.S. citizen to secure him as collateral for the fictitious federal debt, but it was rejected on the Arizona State Certificate worksheet, a true copy of which is attached and incorporated herein by reference. Anyway, so, and there's the Arizona State Certificate thing that my wife went and mistakenly gave them information for, and it says at the bottom, refused, okay? And there's more documentation from the hospital. Anyways, so I used this to put my son on company benefits when I worked at U.S. Airways. I was working at U.S. Airways, and it was no problem. I didn't give him a birth certificate. I just gave him this. I filed a criminal complaint against the criminals in the Casa Grande Regional Medical Center, and Arizona passed an act requiring forced registration of babies. And and basically, in my opinion, what they did that for was because I had filed a criminal complaint against them. They had to justify the actions of these criminals. So what's the answer? Okay, the real answer is use a midwife at home and put it in the family Bible. In my case, I had one son, one daughter were both given birth at home with midwives. In Canada, my daughter was born on the land of Canada, in Ontario, actually on Ontario. And the midwives gave my wife the birth registration document, and then she went and sent it in. You know, we could have recorded that with a counter recorder, and that would have been perfect. So what I would suggest is record whatever paperwork you have, or make an affidavit and record it with a counter recorder. But there's more than that, okay? You have to do homeschool. You can send them to public school if they really want to go. Some of my kids, children, or my sons and daughters, I should say. I got to stay away from these words. Anyways, I would, some of them wanted to go to public school, so we said okay. And so, but teach your sons and daughters how to make money, okay? It doesn't do any good to raise your family outside the satanic system if they're forced to go in there in order to eat. And so you need to teach them how to make money and get them out there and teach them how to make money. Anyways, the end justifies the means is satanic. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, and put darkness for light and light for darkness. That's what they're doing with these birth certificates. If a man be found stealing any of his brethren of the children of Israel, and make merchandise of him, or selleth him, then that thief shall die. That's what they're doing, is they're selling people into slavery when they put them in jail. That's what they do. And it's all based on the cestui trust, because the cestui trust has no rights. People have rights, trusts do not. And thou shalt put evil away from among you. And so we, the people, need to put this evil away from among us. And through covetousness shall they with feigned words make merchandise of you, whose judgment now a long time lingereth not, and damnation slumbereth not. See, what's happened because of this UN charter, all these courts, they're all UN courts, okay? So these are all Baal priests, and they're lying in wait. By which he also went and preached to the spirits in prison, okay? Spirit prison's hell. It shall come to pass in that day, the Lord will punish the host of the high ones that are on high, the kings of the earth, and they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in prison, and after many days shall they be visited. It behooves every man who values liberty of conscience for himself to resist invasions of it in the case of others, or their case may, by change of circumstances, become his own. And what Jefferson's talking about here is karma. What goes around comes around. And so, we need to educate people, and if I help you, it helps me too, because I can't fight all the battles. We need everybody, challenging it in their own way. There's, if you love wealth better than liberty, the tranquility of servitude better than the animating contest of freedom, go home from us in peace. We ask not your counsel or arms. Crouch down and lick the hands which feed you. May your chain set lightly upon you, and may our posterity forget that you were ever our countrymen. And nobody can say it better than Samuel Adams. When shall it be said in any country of the world, my poor are happy, neither ignorance or distress is to be found among them. My jails are empty of prisoners, my streets of beggars, the aged are not in want, the tax is not oppressive, the rational world is my friend, because I am friend of its happiness. When these things can be said, then may that country boast of its constitution and government. And we have nothing to boast about here. The jails are populated by Satanist order followers, running around assaulting people. The streets are full of beggars. The aged are in want. The taxes are oppressive. And so we have nothing. A bunch of Satanist criminals have taken control in the government. Although, in all honesty, there's hope, because there's a new administration coming in, and there's hope that things will improve. Now, how much they improve is yet to be seen. But if the watchmen see the sword come and blow not the trumpet, and the people be not warned, if the sword come and take any person from among them, he is taken in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at the watchman's hands. This is my effort to make sure that I am blameless on Judgment Day, and I hope you're blameless too. But whether you're not, you're blameless will be determined on your actions. Either you're part of the problem or you're part of the solution. You're now a watchman. Circulate this video far and wide. Other videos: Bankster Thieves 1, 2, and 3, Churchianity Series, Bankrupt Corporate So-Called Governments, Bar Members 1, 2, and 3, Unidroit, Martial Laws Here, Quasi-Contracts and Roman Law, de facto courts. All courts are ecclesiastical courts. Jurisdiction. I've got over 240 videos. Copies of these documents can be found in my private group at Yahoo, called Administrating Your Public Servants. I have YouTube videos that are videos of private information shares that show these and other court citations that are available for a donation. And this last paragraph is for all the Satanist order follower revenue officers operating in their private capacity. And donations to support this work are appreciated, but you can put your privileges and benefits up your rectal orifice. I prefer gold or silver coin, but as an extremely less desirable alternative, I can accept IOUs. Federal Reserve notes, PayPal gifts, checks, money orders, etc. Send me an email for particulars. If you find this useful and you need to pay it forward, if you don't know what pay it forward means, then watch the movie. Send me your successes and I'll publish them. Anyways, my blog is sovereigntyinternational.wordpress.com. My website is sovereigntyinternational.fyi. My email is engineerwin@yahoo. My YouTube profile, Sovereign Living. My Facebook community page is deleted because of censorship on the part of Facebook. My Facebook private group, Sovereignty International, is being deleted because of censorship on the part of Facebook. My Yahoo private group, Administrating Your Public Servants. My Google private group is Administrating Your Public Servants. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. This is kind of a short one. And I hope you get something out of it. And, everybody needs to do their part to learn the law and then to liberate themselves, to free themselves. It's all voluntary slavery. They have you in multiple things that they call contracts. And so quit participating in these contracts. And so I appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. I hope you got something out of it, and spread the word. And other than that, have a real nice day.